back to the letter. In that episode, the police were wondering as to how I could shoot and hit my victims in the dark. They did not openly state this, but implied this by saying it was a well-lit night and I could see silhouettes on the horizon. Bullshit, that area is surrounded, and he goes on, by trees, etc. Now, with the use of this expletive, bullshit, the writer somehow comes across as a petulant teenager. I get the sense of somebody who's contrary and argumentative, somebody who would be a difficult person to relate to or be in a relationship with. He comes across as, my guess, the kind of person who always has to be right, who always has to be, somebody's going to be right and somebody's going to be wrong in any given conversation, and he's going to have a need to prove that he's right and to prove that he's more intelligent and to support his sense of superiority. So the letter goes on, surrounded by high hills and trees. What I did was tape a small pencil flashlight to the barrel of my gun. If you notice, in the center of the beam of light, if you aim it at a wall or ceiling, you'll see a black or dark spot in the center of the circle of light, about 3 to 6 inches across. When taped to a gun barrel, the bullet will strike exactly in the center of the black dot in the light. So you recall in the earlier letter, I speculated that there were things that suggested in that letter that he might possess unusual technical facility. And his use, his invention really, as far as I know, I don't know if anybody else invented this or not, but it seems like he's invented something that was almost the equivalent of a laser gun sight long before those actually existed. I don't even know if lasers were around then, certainly not laser gun sights. So this supports our hypothesis that he's meticulous, that he's technically adept. I would imagine that he experimented a lot with this sight before he actually used it to make sure that it was set up just right and zeroed in just right. So we see somebody who's technical, who's patient, and who has a kind of creative technical intelligence. Then he writes, all I had to do was spray them. And, this is written in such a matter-of-fact way. What this suggests to me is a very psychopathic person, the fact that he can distance himself to such a degree emotionally from such violence. So in summary, this letter supports the idea that we have somebody here who desperately wants attention. He's clearly making a grab for attention in writing the letter, in sending letters to the newspapers, and he shows that he has a certain flair for PR. Despite his use of the moniker Zodiac, I don't see any other evidence here supporting the idea that he was into astrology. So I'm not sure that astrology was the dominant reason for choosing that term. It's important to say that he doesn't strike me as a psychologist, as a psychotic individual, at least not in the sense of a person who's out of touch with reality, prone to major distortions of reality, or subject to hallucinations. I think in a court of law he would be considered legally sane, probably. However, he does strike me as extremely psychopathic, which is to say amoral, that is totally lacking in morals, probably having never developed a moral sense. The misspellings in his letter that are loaded throughout almost all of his letters are interesting and perhaps telling. If I had to come down one way or the other, I came down believing that they were inadvertent, that maybe he's dyslexic. I'm not an expert in such things, but that was my impression. If they were an attempt to disguise something important about him, then that doesn't jibe well with the fact that he's given us so many other clues, insights into his personality through the letters that he's written to the press, through the cryptogram, and so on. So that's my thoughts about that. So please watch this series for subsequent episodes in which I'll continue to move through the Zodiac material. If you continue to be interested, I'll continue to do it. And if you're interested in psychology generally, Be sure to check out my podcast series, Shrink Rap Radio. It's at shrinkrapradio.com, and the link is at the bottom of your screen. So until next time,